We're back with Brian Williams. You covered the first Trump presidency. I certainly will admit, when that one ended, I didn't think we'd have another one, but here we are. It does seem a little, the guardrails are maybe down. Do you think that's alarmist to say, or do you think that, based on his cabinet picks, seems accurate?
No one who's been paying attention should be surprised at the list of cabinet names coming out, which you have faithfully covered in Closer Look every night, including tonight. This is what we were told to expect.
And he weirdly is a man of his word with who he is picking. I mean, I wish he'd been a man of his word on other stuff, but here we are. They debated today releasing the House Ethics Report on Matt Gaetz. That was something that, at least in the early days, it seemed like maybe they would do. But of course, the Republican Party tends to go along with what Donald Trump says. Are you surprised that they're not going to release it?
I am not surprised. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene's threat over this past weekend that there's a lot that could come out about other sitting Republicans if they open this Pandora's box was notable.
Yeah, well, the threats do seem to resonate because it does seem like they might actually back them up.
Yeah.
The Dems, the Democratic Party, lost a lot of white working class voters. Certainly, their lead with non-white working class voters was eaten into by the Donald Trump and the Republicans. It did feel like the Democratic Party under Joe Biden did a lot of things for working class voters. Certainly, inflation was a giant issue. Messaging as well. Do you feel like they just failed to message what they had done for and had planned for the economy?
It is tough love time for the Democratic Party. I think it needs to be stripped down and rebuilt. I think that means a change in leadership. I want to know who thought it was a good idea that Joe Biden stand for another 4 years at 80 years of age and 37% popularity. So then that saddled the party with a British-like short campaign season for them. I think it's insulting when members of the working class, which the Democratic Party has lost entirely in our lifetimes, to insist the economy's doing great. A 12-pack of Bounty is $40. Rich folks don't feel that. Poor folks already switched to Sparkle during the during the lockdown. And I think telling them that the NASDAQ is gangbusters is further insulting. It's insulting. I think the biggest unforced error of the Biden administration by far was the border. To tell people it's not a problem is insulting. For the working class to see incoming migrants getting welcome bags, debit cards, and motel rooms is probably insulting as well. So there's a lot of work to do. You know, it was when they handed out camo hats that said Harris Walls, and the Democrats they were kind of charmed by that. Their party has gone quinoa, and the rest of America's eating at Cracker Barrel. And so it was kind of an ironic use of something millions of Americans put on their heads to start their day every day.
No, at the same time, and I take your point, obviously you have Donald Trump, doing a half a shift at a McDonald's and wearing a trash reflector vest and pretending, basically play acting as a garbage man.
As one does.
Yes, as one does. So it does feel like, right, it's almost like the Democrats have to figure out a different way to message, while the Republican Party has this way that nobody would have ever thought would be effective that Donald Trump is doing.
Yeah, they need to reach out to America again and be less about what's called suicidal empathy, worrying so much about minority groups in society and in your party that you win the argument, but you don't win the election. This is up to them to decide. Are they tired of winning the argument, but not the election?
Well, certainly they had done well every election since, 2016. And so do you think they were wrong to think they were on some sort of winning streak based on the fact that they had outperformed expectations?
Probably. And I think the other lesson we learned this election year is that polling isn't worth a damn. If you want to see what polling used to do, follow the betting indexes. They were right. Yeah. They were almost all right. But not the pollsters.
But see, I follow, when I bet on football, it's never right. Like they tell me who's going to win, and then I'm just like losing money left and right.
Well, some of that is the booze.
Yeah.
So,
You're right.
I'm just, putting it out there.
You did your election night, which, as you mentioned, 10 hours plus. You also emceed, what was it, your local firehouse gala?
I signed off that night, 3 o'clock Eastern time. I said, thanks.
3 a.m. Eastern time,
3 a.m. I said, this has been great. Thanks to Amazon. Thanks to Jonathan Wald, our producer, Glenn Weiss, our director. My next gig, I said, my hand to God, is to MC my firehouse dinner in Point Pleasant, New Jersey on Saturday night.
And you're back. There you go. Congratulations.
Yep.
That's a more important gig, I think.
Yep. It went well. Slightly smaller audience than the global Amazon audience, but nobody hit subscribe and save. So
that's
I
good.
got that going for me.
You're still volunteering at
Yes,
the
I am.
firehouse? Gotcha.
Continues to be the joy of my life. I've been doing it since 18, 41-year career, got in the way of responding to fires, but I'm back at it now.
Yeah, that's really good. It's very exciting. I mean, Nobody should be excited when there's, their house is on fire. But in Point Pleasant, it's kind of cool to think you might show up.
Yeah, it's nice. And that's the socioeconomic group I was born into. So that's what makes me so angry to see an American population not being spoken to by one of the major political parties. There's been great change. The Democrats have become the fancy party.
But it's so strange because, of course, they do still win a bigger share of like the non-white working class. So they are speaking to someone.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I understand that it's getting eaten into, but at the same time, like we're talking about it like, again, I agree. They have to communicate better to the working class voter. But I sometimes think it's a little unfair to say, they're elite when certainly Joe Biden stood up for unions.
Yep.
And, and I think it's very fair to say that Donald Trump and certainly Elon Musk will not. And there was a time where that meant something, and I don't quite know why it doesn't anymore.
To use a big word, there is a nihilism afoot, has been since the first Trump term. It's not working for me. Let's burn the damn thing down. And that's kind of a germ that's going around the world. It's not limited to us. So these are going to be, strap in, these are going to be interesting times.
I do think you're right about that nihilism. I think it's really tough to communicate a message when that is the pervasive feeling, but I think it's the job of Democrats, if they really want to get through, it's going to be harder than they maybe put the effort in this time.
A lot of people would agree with you.
It is just so lovely to see you.
Oh, it's great.
I'll tell you, it's so nice to have you back in the building. You guys, this is Brian Williams, everybody. We'll be right back with Bridget Everett.